Hello and welcome to Men's Corner. I'm your host, George Stoimenov, and I would like to welcome you on this journey. This is what true masculinity is, a journey. You're not born with it, you're not just given it. No, if all of us men want to become more than what we are right now, better men in many ways, we need to take a journey, deep journey of discovery and rediscovery of that true masculinity that we've all longed for. We've longed for it ever since we were boys, and in many ways we're still longing for it. And we all know that the world is longing for it. The word masculinity now is quite popular, probably more than ever before. I'm ashamed to say it, very often in a negative way. And yet it is there. By accusing the darkness of masculinity, by accusing that perverted masculinity, by looking at the quote-unquote toxic masculinity, by raging at it, the world actually demands men to become something different. And even though, in many ways, it's to become the opposite of being harsh and warlike and whatnot, it actually deep down needs us to become more of the men that we're meant to be. Not only more tender and more loving, but also stronger. Because you see, strong men would never commit atrocities. Strong men would never rape. Strong men would never hurt a child. Strong men would never pick a fight. They've got a mission and a purpose. If strong men ever employ violence, it's to defend and protect. Never to inflict pain for the sake of it. Never to cause pain because they are in pain. The world today needs men to be strong. And if we are not that, if we don't take that deep journey of reclaiming something good in us that's been lost maybe, or buried, or forgotten, then I know what's going to happen. It won't be long before evil will start taking our place. This has always been true in history, always. When the forces of good do not rise up and take their place, the forces of evil come in. They fill the vacuum. There is no vacuum. We need to take a deeper journey. Because in this world of ours, nothing good comes easy. Masculinity is definitely one of these things that don't come easy at all. I remember growing up in rural Bulgaria and just longing for that masculinity, looking at it in the screen and looking at those men that I admired, fictional or real, or historical figures. I'll share about some of them with you later along this journey. And deeply knowing that I just cannot be like that. As soon as the film was over or I closed the book, I just looked around me in my reality, which was a lot less glamorous, a lot less promising than what I was just seeing. And I just knew that I was not going to be that man. And yet, why did I want to be that man then? The fish doesn't long for anything beyond water. Fish is made for the water. The bird is made for the air. And so I believe every man is made to become more of himself and to find that true masculinity. This is why we're longing for it as boys. And this is why we are so changed when we lose it. We are so dulled by the world. We're so darkened by the world. I don't mean by people, even though yes, it does come through people, but by life itself. By the negative forces of life that just tells us that, well, we can't be the men that we want to be. Life is different now. Superheroes no longer are needed. Forces of shame, of pain, of bitterness, of our trauma, of our false beliefs about ourselves that came from the time we were little boys. Even if we come from the best family, they're negative forces that hold us back. And yet, what are they holding back? What is that power that they're trying to rein in? I believe that's the force of true masculinity inside of us. That is in each human heart. And is waiting to be unleashed and released into the world because the world needs it. You see? But when you look at the things that people are pointing to and saying, look at what masculinity is, or look at what the negative side of masculinity is, you just can't help but see that there is no other alternative for strength. Like, oh yeah, I can see how being a gang leader or a neo-Nazi or, I don't know, just a harsh, violent man, I can see, of course, I can see how that is negative. But then what's on the other side of the spectrum? What's the other option? Well, there's not much there, is there? There isn't much. It's just weakness, passivity, and just agreeing with the world and going along and playing along. Well, guess what? Young boys will be drawn to. I remember being drawn to heroic men who were strong, who were fighting against some sort of injustice or evil, who were not afraid to stand up against it. But if you don't have that in real life, if you don't have men who just take you on as a boy, strong men but good and just, then you either shut down, which is what I did. I lost all desire to be anything resembling a heroic man. Or if your strength is already realized in some level, which mine wasn't, be drawn to the dark side. And yes, in some degree, I actually did as a boy, watching the mafia films and just admiring those dark heroic figures because they were heroes in their own world, even though they were on the dark side. At least they had strength. Men are drawn to strength. Boys are drawn to strength. And if you don't give them a positive one, they'll either turn inwardly against themselves and hate themselves and be divided within themselves and just shut down. Even their bodies will shut down. There will be less of the people that they were meant to be. Or they'll just follow the dark side. They'll just become something much harsher and much more brutal than they were meant to be. And I'm not just talking about mafia bosses or murderers. I'm just talking about people who are harsh with their own selves, who are just rash and harsh and abusive at times, verbally or emotionally or manipulative. Just people with no respect for the well-being of others. And this is what the world is seeing nowadays. Harsh men, violent men, or just men who are absent even within their own selves. How often have you encountered a man whose presence just fills the room and yet is absolutely positive? How often have you known a man who is strong, powerful, knows who he is, moves with ease within his own body, and is not afraid to speak his mind or to confront when he needs to, and yet is tender, is gentle, knows how to treat a child, knows how to treat a woman, knows how to treat a man with respect? How often does that happen? Not too often, in my experience. It is almost as if something is set against that sort of masculinity. And no wonder, there is a lot of resistance against it. Because that sort of masculinity is actually what changes the world. The masculinity that is from inside, still innocent as a child and yet with the strength of a man. Imagine that, a child's heart that the world calls naive, a dreamer, a believer in goodness, in freedom, in peace, with a man's strength, with a man's cunning and sureness and strength and toughness and endurance and skill. Imagine that. I believe, and now I'll make a very bold claim here, but I believe that each man deep down was meant to be something like that, to have it all, in his own individual way, but to have it all. The ability to be intimate and the ability to be strong at the same time. The ability to be in touch with his gentle side, with his creative side, with his poetic side, with his lover side, and the ability to be a warrior and a king, to stand up when he needs to and just fight against injustice for the sake of something good, for the sake of those around him. I believe in that. Deep down, each one of us, we have it. We have it. But if we want to recover it, we need to take a deeper journey. Journey of the heart, journey of that inner being. And Men's Corner is about equipping men for that deeper journey, providing them with the resources to take that journey. So stay with us for more. Let us take that challenge together. Let us take that step together. Let us just stand against everything that's opposing our becoming the man that we're born to be. Welcome to Men's Corner. Speak to you next time. Bye.